People really don't know what their expenses will be because they don't know how long that they're going to live.
Americans are worried they won't have enough saved for retirement now more than ever.
Retirement is going to cost, for many folks, over $1 million.
Is no sure thing in investing, but a lot of people think that annuities may come close to that.
It's going to more safe things that they know. If they know they're going to need that money to supplement their retirement, well, then you can't play that risk.
This is the Safe Money and Retirement Show with Jon Heischman Sr., founder and partner of Heischman Financial Services, serving the Columbus and surrounding areas. Jon specializes in educating pre-retirees and retirees about safe money strategies and ideas. Now, it's the Safe Money and Retirement Show. Here's Jon Heischman Sr.
Paying taxes is an act the people have hated since the beginning of mankind. You can find story after story, tale after tale of people fighting the tax collection system. Let's talk about that. Welcome to the Safe Money and Retirement Show. I'm your host, Jon Heischman. We're hearing more and more about the importance of tax planning in retirement. It has to be addressed. Many times there are a couple of simple solutions to that problem. Other times it's important to bring in the accountant, the tax specialist, or the CPA to assist in tax planning. From my position, doing retirement planning for many, many years, I have come across and been involved in assisting retirees with ideas on how their own individual plan could make some adjustments in the interest of tax planning. But since I'm not a CPA or tax advisor, when it gets to the real detailed planning, I'm going to bring in a CPA associated with our firm. There is very little that we can do that will affect the tax laws in place or how they're created. What we can do is understand the tax law, how it works, and how it's applied to retirement planning, and be aware of the options that are available and can be used legitimately, legally, and safely to reduce taxes. And that's where I come in as a retirement planner to make you aware of these options. I think it's extremely important. I've seen so many retirees and pre-retirees are not aware of tax strategies and how taxes are going to affect them later on in retirement. You have absolutely nothing to fear from the IRS if you follow the laws. Many people have told me over the years they don't want to do any tax planning or take advantage of any tax strategies because they are worried about getting audited. Quite frankly, anybody can get audited at any point in time. We don't know. But if you've done nothing illegal, followed the tax law exactly as written, use the IRS own tax rules, there's really not much that can happen besides giving up your time with an audit. And remember this, they can't do anything when you follow the law. There could be one or two fairly simple changes that could be made to save you thousands later on in retirement. But if you don't find out what strategies are available based on your own situation, it may be too late. So I think that's something that we need to talk about because it's such a big part of retirement planning. 888-426-0177 is the number to call to discuss your situation. 888-426-0177. As I mentioned, it may be a couple of simple things, or if it's going to be detailed, or if I think we need to take this to a tax professional, I'm going to let you know. You can also reach me direct at 614-861-7055. And speaking of taxes in retirement, I want all of my listeners to have the book I sponsor, Top 10 IRA Mistakes, How to Avoid IRA Tax Traps. 98 pages of what I call a simple and understandable read. It's yours for the asking, no cost, no obligation. I'll have that book sent from my office. Just call the number that I give throughout the show and leave the message you'd like to receive the book, Top 10 IRA Mistakes. As we plan for your retirement, we must plan out your taxes and reduce them as much as possible. No matter what stage you are in retirement, no matter what you're doing, I can't imagine why anyone would want to pay more in taxes than required by law. I see retirees overpaying in taxes when I first meet with them, and it must come from not understanding the tax laws, or tax planning has not been brought to their attention. Not understanding how tax planning works, or mere procrastination, or wanting to avoid anything to do with taxes needs to be addressed. I want to show you how you can save on taxes, give you some concrete ideas on how to reduce the taxes that you pay or that you're going to pay in retirement, and trying to put you in a position to put more money in your pocket every month instead of Uncle Sam's. Tax planning involves 3 things: discovering the different strategies that you can use to make wise choices and educated decisions concerning the tax strategies that we want to implement. Second, understanding them fully. And finally, integrating your tax situation with the entire financial and retirement plan. And keep in mind, everything that you do in one area of your retirement plan is going to affect others. I personally think this is especially true in the tax area. And really, there's nothing that you can do, financially speaking, that does not have an effect on your taxes. You can keep your money in the bank. That affects taxes. If you take your money out of the bank and put it somewhere else, isn't that going to affect your taxes? What about selling stocks? If you buy a house, that affects your taxes. And if you sell a house, that could affect your taxes. If you set up trust or wills for your estate, could affect your taxes. What about making a gift? If you have part-time or even a full-time job, that's going to affect your taxes. And if you own any kind of business or any way that you receive income, such as required minimum distribution, yes, that's going to affect your taxes. Tax planning and investment planning in retirement. They're so intertwined. They may be done together in concert, so every decision that you make will be integrated and coordinated with the other areas of your financial plan. Think about your current plans that are going to be used for income. Are they taxable or tax deferred with principal not being taxed, or tax-free? Very important to address as early as possible. I'd love to hear from you and discuss your situation, answer your questions and concerns. 888-426-0177. Once again, 888-426-0177. Don't forget to order the top 10 IRA mistakes, how to avoid IRA tax traps. At this time, I'm going to take a break. Stay tuned. I'll return with more information that I feel can help you in your retirement planning. Also, don't forget to visit my website at heischmanfs.com. HEIschmanfs.com.
Thanks for listening to the Safe Money and Retirement Show with Jon Heischman. For more information, call 1-888-426-0177. That's 1-888-426-0177. Or visit their website at heischmanfs.com. More of the Safe Money and Retirement Show in a moment.
Avoiding mistakes can save owners of IRAs, 401ks, and TSP plans, as well as other retirement plans, a fortune in taxes, penalties, fees, and loads. These potential mistakes are addressed in the free book entitled Top 10 IRA Mistakes. This is Jon Heischman from the Safe Money and Retirement Show, offering a complimentary copy by calling 888-426-0177. Again, that's 888-426-0177.
Welcome back to the Safe Money and Retirement Show with Jon Heischman. To contact Jon, the number to call is 1-888-426-0177. That's 1-888-426-0177. Once again, here's Jon Heischman.
Welcome back to the second half of the Safe Money and Retirement Show. I'm your host, Jon Heischman. In retirement planning, so many areas to cover and to make sure you're protected. But I think the big question is, especially for those of you that are getting ready to retire or have retired in the last couple of years, first things first. In other words, how do you know where you are today? I want to address this with every new potential client. We want to figure out where you are today. You know, it's kind of like any journey. You'll never get there, or where you want to go without knowing where you're going to start from and where do you want to go. The journey to retirement planning, it's got to start somewhere. And that somewhere is an understanding of everything you have going on right now, what you've done in the past that led you to where you are now. We could call it an inventory or diagnosis of your current situation. A good example would be, let's say you want to increase your return on invested dollars to grow your accounts, because the more you grow your accounts, the more potential retirement income it's going to provide. But first, we've got to work to know how much money you have and what your after-tax rate of return is on that money. If you've just started changing things without knowing what returns that we're shooting for or what we can expect on a reasonable level, how would you make an educated decision about what to change to, and how much change is involved? Well, if you don't know that, then the answer is you couldn't. Again, first things first. And I know it sounds silly to say that you must know these things first before making decisions, but we cannot tell you how many people that our firm sees who have made all kind of decisions without knowing what they were doing before they make those decisions for change. Many have no specific idea what their current situation was, yet made changes anyways. You know, a lot of times people get lucky and improved their situation, making these changes blindly. More often than not, they ended up in worse shape later on in retirement, and that's what I want to prevent. But many times, there's no way to tell. How can you tell if you are better or worse if you have no idea what you're comparing your new results to? So it comes down to this as to what are some of the things that you need to know. And it's fairly basic in financial planning as it is in retirement planning. What is your current cash flow, your expenses, your investment amounts, and rates of return? How about your liabilities, maturity dates of CD? Who owns what? Your current tax situation and your current insurance coverage. What type of 401ks are still out there that you haven't rolled over? Are there any government benefits? For example, Social Security. And have you made any estate planning arrangements? These are some of the things that we want to talk about to determine where you want to go. First things first. And I'm sure many of you have already got to the point that I'm trying to get across to you, but believe me, there are so many out there that have not gotten to this point, and they need guidance. And I'm sure you're sitting there thinking, this is really complicated. This is really detailed. But believe me, it's not. The process is fairly simple and it doesn't take a lot of time. Your advisor, financial professional, retirement planner needs to do this. And without question, if you're retired and it hasn't been done, you shouldn't have to go back to that individual and ask them to work with you to know where you are today. You should already know that. It can be overlooked, but in many situations, the emphasis is on growth, investments, and not retirement planning. So if you're in that situation or you think you may be, I would love to hear from you to discuss your start, your first things first, and we will put clarity on your retirement planning. 888-426-0177. 888-426-0177. And when you call, don't forget to request the Top 10 IRA Mistakes book. Now, I want to go back to the list that I talked about a little bit ago of those things that help me to be able to work with you on where to start. A lot of it is an estimate because, believe it or not, many people don't have their statements or policies, but have a pretty good idea of the amount that is in each account. That's a start. But of course, when we eventually get to an actual plan, we're going to need to see those statements, which shows the actual amount. Because on an estimate compared to the actual, $10,000 could make a big difference. In going through this process of obtaining statements, actual account balances and policies, and zeroing in on what you have and what you don't have, and knowing where everything is, believe me, is worth it in itself to go through that exercise. You'll feel more organized and definitely more objective and be in control of your finances. This isn't an exercise to criticize what maybe you don't have or you don't feel you're to the point where you should be. It's simply the time to take stock, to get an inventory, to see where you are today. And I promise that you'll be glad you took the time to do this, no matter what you decide about making a change on the information that you gather. And for those that don't have the time to contact the different companies to get statements and values, I can assist you and do that, obviously, with your permission. One thing we do want to look at is the amount that you have at risk and compare that to your risk tolerance. Everyone gets to a point where risk should be reduced for the amount of money that's going to be needed to provide income. I always want to plan that, and then what's left, we leave at risk for maximum potential growth. The sooner you put all this together, the better you're going to feel and the confidence it's going to give you as far as having your retirement protected and generate guaranteed income with the option to increase that income due to inflation, taxes, and health care. I welcome the opportunity to talk to you about your planning to date and discuss possible changes and give you some recommendations. And if you are on the right track and you've covered the first things first, I'm going to let you know and encourage you to continue on the same track. If you're in that situation, I don't want you to change anything. And if that's the situation and we can't work together, that's okay. I've met one of my radio listeners that's on the right track. I want to thank you for joining me and encourage you to tune in next week at the same time on the same station. My number is 888-426-0177, 888-426-0177. This is Jon Heischman bringing you the Safe Money and Retirement Show. Again, thank you for joining me.
The Safe Money and Retirement Show with Jon Heischman Sr. To get in touch with Jon, call 1-888-426-0177. That's 1-888-426-0177. For more information about Heischman Financial Services, visit their website, HeischmanFS.com. That's HeischmanFS.com. Join us again next time for the Safe Money and Retirement Show with Jon Heischman Sr.